Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, your home for the very best fantasy basketball tools and fantasy basketball writing on the entire internet. Go check them out right now for your fantasy needs. It's been a while, guys. We've been on a hiatus. I don't have my intro on par, and that is all thanks to #basketball.com for allowing us to have a extended holiday season where we get to spend time with our families, and watch the Bulls lose. I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me as always is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Michael, I gotta ask the tough question.
I'm out of practice on the intro already, Tyler. So I'm ready for. I'm out of practice for your questions as well. So I'm ready for literally anything you have to ask.
All right, 10 All-Star picks go. Who you voting for?
Oh.
Who's getting the Mike seal of approval in the All-Star picks?
You do this to me. You do this to me every time. We talk before the show, and what we want to talk about, what we want to get to, and then you always ask me a question that you literally did not mention it at all. So I have no prep for any of this shit. I think you have to put Steph Curry in because he's Steph Curry. Let's see. In the West,
in voting, it's super easy on the West, but the East is actually kind of hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the West. Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Derrick Rose. And then
no, you can't have that.
In the East, what?
No, you can't have that because your two guards are Curry and Harden. You got to pick two guards and two front courts.
Then I'm dropping Harden. I'm putting Derrick Rose in, and then I'm putting Paul George. He's had a great year, fantastic year for Paul.
Okay, fair. Not who I would go for, but fair.
That's fair. So Derrick Rose, who is getting the second most votes as a guard, and guys, go out right now. Go to Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Watch the Boxes, and you can find me tweeting Derrick Rose #NBA vote. We got to get Derrick Rose into starting the All-Star game this season. I want you to go out there and do this. It will be literally the best thing, and then also probably the end of fan voting. But you know what? Let's go out on a bang. Let's make the fan voting obsolete by getting Derrick Rose to start in the NBA All-Star game this year. That would be fucking awesome. I guess you got to put LeBron in there, maybe instead of Paul George. But I hate LeBron, so everybody knows I'm a LeBron hater. So Paul George it is.
That front court is freaking impossible because you got those four. Then you got Doncic in there, who's getting a ton of votes and is deserving to be an All-Star.
I think Doncic should be an All-Star. He's just really damn good. Like he's averaging like 20 points a game.
But then you're leaving out, the plethora of other players too. The Karl Towns, the front court in the West is super difficult to pick.
Should we reward Karl Anthony Towns for being one of the softest good players in the league and their team losing all the time? Like, he could be an All-Star like coming off the bench, but he shouldn't start.
Oh yeah, I don't fundamentally disagree with that. I'm just saying there's a lot of difficult picks to make. I guess.
And the East is much harder. I think Giannis is the easiest, obvious one. Kawhi Leonard, holding down your forwards, and then when it comes to guards, you probably have to go. We have to go with Embiid at center. I think that's fairly obvious.
And there's center now, right? It's just three front courts, so you don't necessarily have to have.
That's true.
That you don't want one.
And then guard-wise, I think you could make an argument for Bradley Beal to be the starting All-Star. I really do. I think you can make an argument for that.
Well, I think his numbers are only going to get better with John Wall out. Yes. So, that's fair.
And then Kyrie's having a pretty good year, but he always has a pretty good year.
Yeah, or do you go Kemba, who's having a great year?
Kemba's having a great year. Jimmy Butler's still one of the best players in the league. Ben Simmons is a question mark position, but I think Walker maybe or Beal. I'm gonna go with Beal. I like him a little bit better. Yeah, that's a tough choice. The East is going to be an interesting All-Star group because after that it was kind of a pretty hard fall off.
Yeah. So as far as the split of what should be All-Stars, I think the East has like about 30 to 40% of what should be All-Stars, and the West has the other 60 to 70. In my opinion, I mean that's just my opinion.
Would you say Tobias Harris should make an All-Star game this year? I think that's arguable.
Yeah, but I mean, not in that Western Conference with all those.
Oh, no, it couldn't happen. If he was in the East still, I think he would have made it.
Well, I mean, Jason Tatum is 5th in front court voting in the East.
That's embarrassing. He's not having a good year. Way to go, East. So let's go out there. Let's get Derrick Rose voted in the All-Star game as the starting guard. That would be great. That would be so wonderful.
So here's the whole reason.
Me very happy.
And I know it's just your Derrick Rose love, but here's the whole reason I can't get behind that. Quite possibly the 2 best players in the league are in the Western Conference backcourt.
Oh, I'm not advocating. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. I'm not advocating for this out of I'm not a Derrick Rose stan. I will stand behind Derrick Rose all the time, but I'm not irrational that he was basically like borderline questionable at being in the league for a year or two. Then he was a backup point guard for a year or two, and now he's having a very good season. And the fact that he got there, if you are someone who can't appreciate that and appreciate what he's gone through all those injuries, being the youngest MVP in the league, all that stuff, then you are purely one of the worst people in the world, and you don't deserve to watch basketball, quite frankly. If you can't appreciate, you don't have to like Derrick Rose, but if you can't appreciate what he's gone through, I don't like LeBron James, but I certainly appreciate that he's the second best player of all time. I can appreciate that, even though I hate most of his career and hate watching him play basketball because I just despise him as a fan. But I respect him. And I think if you can't respect Derrick Rose's comeback after all this time, after all these years, you're not a good basketball fan, and you shouldn't be able to watch him. So I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating for the end of the fan voting by voting Derrick Rose in as a starting point guard.
Well, you do realize this now. Fan voting used to be 100% of the starters, right? It's only 50% now.
Oh, really? They're like, we can't have this happen.
Yeah,
so whenever Yao Ming would always get voted back in the day, because all the Chinese would vote for Yao Ming, which fair. I would vote for Yao Ming if a few years Yao Ming does 100% deserve to be the starting center for the Western Conference. But after a while, it's well, Yao Ming's only played 14 games this season. He's number 1 in voting.
Yeah, so now the media gets a quarter and the players and coaches get a quarter.
That's too bad.
Well,
still, we can make it happen. We still got 50% of the vote. I'd go out there and do that. I think that'd be hilarious. And also, you know what? Respect to Derrick Rose. I got to go see him play in the United Center. Incredibly embarrassing. Another embarrassing loss by the Bulls. And also, people would cheer louder when Taj Gibson got checked into the game versus when any of the actual Bulls got checked into the game. That's how bad things have gotten in Chicago. I don't want to labor on this because we're going to talk about more Chicago. I know people have wondered how off the deep end I'm about to go. Fairly far off the deep end so you'll have to wait for that rant later in the show when we talk about the Justin Holiday trade. But you've already mentioned the injury to John Wall. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about fantasy. We got Week 13 coming up here, and we've been on a long hiatus, so we do have quite a few things to talk about before we get into Week 13. So John Wall out for the season, pretty devastating to anybody who is hoping John Wall would last a whole season. But when there is injury, on the flip side of that coin is opportunity for everybody else. So, Tyler, what are the players that are seeing a huge upswing from the loss of John Wall?
So Satoransky's going to probably be the starting point guard there now, which, that's going to make a big impact, and he's been playing big minutes since Wall's gone out. So, there's something to start with there. And, how good is Satoransky for fantasy? That may be debatable.
Yeah, like
even as a back end starting point guard.
So I know Satoransky had a very good run last time John Wall was injured. Made a lot of people very happy in the fantasy world. He's going to have some of these games. He already actually has had some of these games, 14 and 11, with 7 assists, 20 and 6. But he's also had some 8 and 3 games. And just like, I think he's going to be a little bit all over the map, but since he is a starting point guard playing plus 30 some minutes, it's worth owning. But overall, like what is that going to average out to? I really don't know. Like, I don't know if it's going to be anything other than borderline fantasy relevant. I think he'll have stretches where he is, a top 100, top 75 player. I'm not sure you're going to see the kind of production that you got out of him during his stint starting with the Wizards last year.
Well, I think you're also going to see Bradley Beal take an upswing and probably average the most assists he's ever averaged per game. I mean, I think they're just letting Beal do a little bit more now. And I mean, you've seen since John Wall's been out that he's consistently getting 5, 6, 7 assists a game, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Beal could easily be like a second round value at the end of the season. I mean, there's a lot of season to go, and we just kind of passed the halfway point, and for a lot of the teams. And man, Bradley Beal could be really, really good if he can stay healthy. And they're playing him crazy minutes, which that's kind of worrying, but it's great for fantasy, but it's kind of worrying that he's playing like 40 minutes every night.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might have forgotten that early Bradley Beal career. We're seeing the potential. We're seeing what he could have been kind of come to fruition finally. But there was a lot of slow start from Bradley Beal back in the day when he was younger, because he was getting injured every year, and it kind of looked like he was going to be always injured. And you wonder, playing 36, 37, 38 minutes a night, does that wear on him enough to make him injury prone? I actually would, on the flip side, say if you can trade for Bradley Beal, you're going to get a nice uptick in statistics from him.
Especially if you can trade for his draft day value. I mean, I think legitimately he's going to be a second round player, and you didn't draft him as a second round player.
Exactly. So if you can get him for draft day value, if people haven't realized that they're going to get an upswing, if the owner of Bradley Beal doesn't realize they're getting an upswing. In fact, in our Second Chance Listener League, which is, by the way, I got to call out our Patreons. Respect to all our patrons out there. We had a great conversation with Adam, our Patreon, who is getting a personal Q&A with the Watching the Boxes crew every month by joining patreon.com/watchingtheboxes and going for the personalized package on Patreon. So shout out to Adam. But the rest of you guys in this second listener league, you guys are taking too long to draft. All right. I'm out here. I'm checking my draft. I'm like, I can't wait to draft. I was actually debating between Bradley Beal and Kemba Walker. That's how good I think Bradley Beal is going to be in the second half. And we're still on round 4, guys. Get out there. We're doing a slow draft for a reason, so people could enjoy their holiday and then draft at their own leisure. Doesn't mean you have to take up the entire clock. Guys, listeners, Patreon subscribers, I love you. You're the best. You're our favorite people. Please, for the love of God, draft a little faster. That would be great. We could get this done before the end of the season. It would be cool. I'd appreciate that. Nothing to say about that, Tyler?
Nothing to say about it. Nothing at all. I just thought maybe you were going to go on more rants. I was just waiting. I
appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me my rant space because I'm going to need it. I'm all heated up about the Bulls. But no, go on with about the Wizards. I think Markieff Morris is out too, like for a handful of weeks as well.
Yes, he is. And so lastly about the Wizards, Otto Porter, now is probably your chance to get Otto Porter. I mean, he had a good game on Sunday night, but he's only playing about 17 and a half minutes since his comeback here. And I just think Otto Porter is going to be really good for the rest of the season, in the sense that he's going to be kind of that second scoring option as opposed to that third scoring option that he normally is. So I think you're going to see a nice uptick in his numbers with John Wall out. And I think with the injury and just a lot of stuff, some poor play from Otto Porter at the beginning of the season have kind of pushed his value down a little bit. And You probably get a nice steal on Otto Porter Jr. right now in a league where some guys aren't paying that close of attention.
Yeah, we've been buy low on Otto Porter for a while now, and we do really preach reverting to the mean here. I watch the boxes, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Otto Porter. Maybe he won't peak he won't have his peak performance over the last half of the season, but he's definitely going to revert back to something that's very normal for Otto Porter and having more opportunities to play with Kelly Oubre in Phoenix and John Wall. Once again, trying to figure out how to put his glass knees back together. And is it a knee? I don't even know what the injury was, quite frankly, but he's out for the season.
Heel, like Achilles, bone spurry. Yeah, it all sounded kind of nasty there.
No, that sounds bad.
I don't in the back of that leg there.
I don't wish bad things to John Wall. But I would say that Otto Porter will revert back to the mean there. You got Markieff Morris going to be out for a while, so you could see a little bit of an upswing with Jeff Green. He's going to play more minutes, and they got nowhere else to go now, so they won't just suddenly stop playing Jeff Green like they have occasionally here during this season. So Jeff Green's probably looking up for an upswing. And then Thomas Bryant has been a very pleasant surprise over the last couple weeks here. And I want to kind of get your take on Thomas Bryant, Tyler, because he's young. I was not expecting, I certainly wasn't on my radar as someone who could potentially drop 31 points in a game, even though he did. Now, granted, it was against Phoenix, so settle down, everybody. But looks like he's going to play his way into not just rotation, but maybe even heavy rotation. And he has been starting for a while now, just because there is no center here, but he's only recently been given the luxury of starters minutes. So is that a trend to jump on for the rest of the season, Tyler?
I am very skeptical of this person.
You're very skeptical of Thomas Bryant.
Just in the sense that, he's shooting 66% from the field. He has, he's making 80% of his free throws, which we don't see that often from a big man. So there's kind of two things that immediately jump off the page as things I'm a little skeptical about. And I'm also skeptical about him playing in every single matchup, like heavy minutes. I think this guy could be a person who, he sees 15 minutes a game in certain matchups. And so that worries me a little bit. Looking at his field goal attempts, they're 60% of his field goal attempts are coming from 0 to 3 feet. So you like that, right? Because that's the DeAndre Jordan thing that's going to lead to a high connect percentage. But then he's also trying to shoot 16% of 3-pointers, and he's only shooting 24% on those 3-pointers. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Eventually dragging the field goal percentage down slightly. Thomas Bryant. So he's a flyer. I'd take a flyer on him right now, sure. If he's available in your
100%
league,
take a flyer on him.
But to think that he's going to be some stud, some gem, I don't know that that's where I'm at right now.
Would you say he is going to be a top? He will end up from today on. Over the last 2 weeks, he's currently in a 9-cat league. Currently, the 31st ranked player over the last 6 games. Right, so fairly good right now. From here to the end of the season, do you think he will be a top 75 player?
Yeah,
I'm with you. And this is what.
And here's the minute. I'll just read the minutes.
It could be close.
I'll read the minutes to you, though. This is what worries the hell out of me. Okay, so that's 6 games you mentioned. He had 14 minutes against Detroit, 30 against Chicago, 36 against Charlotte, 39 against Atlanta, 23 against Miami, 21 against Oklahoma City.
Not a lot of world beaters there other than maybe Oklahoma City.
And that's what I mean. And we had 3 games where it was under 23 minutes. And the shot attempts that he's making in that time are insane. He was 3 for 3. He was 4 of 8. He was 9 of 13. He was 5 of 7. He was 5 of 7. He was 6 of 8. The worst shooting game he had was 50%. that's not going to stick around forever. Like, it's just not.
It's not sustainable for sure. And I agree with you. The free throw percentage is even more non-sustainable. And I want to kind of hone in on something here. Probably a lot of people have already picked up Thomas Bryant. I would 100% pick him up and just see what happens. Why not take a flyer on him? But if you think you're getting a top 50 player for the rest of the season, I think you're a little bit mistaken. Simply, let's just say he's an around the rim dunker, and he's gonna go 4 for 7 every night. Cool.
He's making 80% of the rim though.
Yeah, like that's not sustainable. But let's say he's up there because that's all he just get dunks. Like that's all he's gonna do here. Let's look at the rest of his game. Right, he's getting a huge bump in ranking simply from the field goal percentage. His free throw percentage also helps bump him up as well. And his turnovers are non-existent. So those are huge bumps from categories that you're like, nah, a lot of people in head-to-head leagues don't give a shit about. In roto leagues, the volume is actually fairly low. So it's not, like I said, world beater type of stuff, but these are good percentages for a roto league. Let's look at the rest of his stats, though. If he's playing, let's say, 30 minutes a game, which is a little aggressive, he's kind of like a 14-8. I don't trust his 3-point. I don't trust that he can hit 3-pointers. Like I think that's not a thing. So he's like kind of like 14-8, 14-9 with maybe almost a steal and probably a block. Okay. That's good. But how good is that overall, really? Like that's probably like within the top 100? 4 and 9 with a block and a steal, but you're not getting anything else. If you just stop looking at his field goal percentage being so high and his turnovers being so drastically low, you're getting like a steal and a block, which is stuff we like, and then you're getting like 14 and 9. It's good. It's not great.
I don't even think you're getting a steal.
Yeah, and that's if this stays sustainable, which I don't think it is.
I mean, if I'm betting in 30 minutes, it's probably like you said. Like I'll agree with the rest of it. The steal's probably more like 0.6 over a longer stint.
It's probably less than a steal. So let's just say there's a guy. His name is Jonas Valanciunas. Now he plays 20 minutes a game, and he's like 13-7 with almost a block and a half a steal, and good percentages. And he's currently ranked in the 100s. So like that's kind of what I'm looking at. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna fly up into like 1.5 block territory. I don't think those rebounds are gonna go skyrocket. I don't think he's like figured out how to score. You know what I mean? So, would you rather have Jared Allen or Thomas Bryant? Like the answer is Jared Allen, but like, isn't Jared Allen's current production Thomas Bryant's ceiling?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not too high on Thomas, but I would 100% pick him up in all leagues. Just take a flyer on him, see how he does over the next few weeks. Like why the hell not?
I'm with you there.
All right, let's talk about the big trade. One of the biggest trades in NBA history. Beautiful and very, very talented Justin Holiday was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies for one of the Brookses. We still don't know which. We do know which, but the not good Brooks, who I think was like waived immediately by the Chicago, or is going to be waived, and 2 second-round draft picks. Now I've been saying all year on this podcast that Justin Holiday is good enough for a first-round draft pick. Turns out not so much. I was trying to get that out there so people would, maybe just bump his value just throughout osmosis. But 2 draft picks, and we waived one of the absolute worst Bulls of all time, Cameron Payne. So, like, really, all positive things. We got something for a guy who's definitely going to, like, not re-sign with the Bulls. And we got rid of Cameron Payne. Not too shabby.
Win-win-win.
It was a win-win-win, other than the fact that Jim Boylan is one of the worst coaches in the league. Nobody wants to play for this idiot, and he's asking Zach LaVine to take more 2-pointers. He's sitting Wendell Carter like for no apparent reason whatsoever. And there's a lot of back and forth on NBA Twitter. A lot of people that I read that I respect, just out there killing Jim Boylan for being like, this is like not old school coaching. Like, this is like old school coaching. This is not where the modern NBA is going. This is not at all like, you're not getting any value of having Wendell Carter Jr. sitting on the bench for the entire second half because he missed a rotation. Like, he's a rookie. He's probably going to miss some rotations, right? He's pretty damn good. You're asking him you're not having him shoot threes anymore. Like, his entire, like, his value on defense is great, but like, if he's a stretch 5, he becomes exponentially more value. Like, whatever Jim Boylan is, and this is the problem. There's a handful of people out there being like, you have no idea what it's like to be an NBA head coach and like how hard it is. Yeah, no shit. I'm not an NBA head coach. I have no idea what it's like. That doesn't mean anything. But I am an observer of the NBA for multiple decades, and as someone who's seen good coaching and can see good coaching, this ain't it. Robin Lopez post-ups ain't good coaching. And if you want to tell me how hard it is to get superstars to run back on defense, like, good on you. Cool. That shouldn't be the barometer of a good NBA coach. Like, if you're looking at absolute value, yeah, okay, cool. Your team ran back on defense, and they're getting better at that. All right, that takes coaching for sure. Does that make you a good NBA coach? No, it just makes you a coach. So everybody needs to settle the hell down. You're on the wrong side of history if you're like Jim Boylan might have some staying power in the NBA because he is a like garbage person version of Tom Thibodeau. And last time I checked, which was not that long ago on Twitter, Tom Thibodeau's not an NBA head coach anymore. So big news coming out of Minnesota. Tyler, like, what do you think about the Tom Thibodeau thing? I'm not going to ask you to chime in on my hatred for the front office in Chicago, and I appreciate you giving me the time for this rant. But do you think a coaching change in Minnesota means anything fantasy value-wise?
Well, I'll say one thing about the whole Chicago thing first. I mean, I think part of being a good coach, and we can discuss the value of a good coach if you want. I mean, I think that there's value to having a good coach, but there's so many coaches that are producing no wins to the team or negative wins to the team in the NBA that,
yeah.
And we can debate the merits of that if you want, but I think that this whole thing is like, to be a good coach, you have to get the players on board.
That's part of the job, man. Like, if the players don't want to play for you, that means you're a bad coach. Even if you have great X's and O's, if you can't motivate anybody, you're not a good leader.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I mean, I think Boylan is doing some of the things we made fun of Fred Hoiberg for doing when he first got the job, right? Oh, Mirotic missed the shot. He's out for the rest of the game.
Yeah, this isn't Iowa State, like, this isn't Utah. Like, these aren't college kids.
Well, and you're not going to – you punishing them is only going to make them go the other way in a lot of cases. Then, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to do that so I don't play, man. Like, whatever, don't play me. Like, that's your decision. And these are men, they're adults. They make their own decisions, and they're going to do what they want to do. So yeah, that and the Thibodeau thing. I mean, we saw it coming, right? It was a long time coming.
Another weird timing firing, and what's even weirder, I mean, we could legitimately see the Bulls fire Tibbs, hire Fred Hoiberg, and now fire Fred Hoiberg, Tibbs getting fired, and you told me before the show that Fred Hoiberg is in the running for the Minnesota Timberwolves job. What's going on? What is happening?
So the Wolves won their last 2 games, which makes the firing weird.
Really odd timing.
And the whole, I mean, it stems back a lot to Tibbs doing old school things and the players not loving that. Like, I mean, you heard the whole Jimmy Butler saga, and thinking that players like Tyus Jones should actually get decent minutes and not play 10 minutes a game. So, I mean, that whole Tibbs playing everyone 40 minutes a game thing came back to bite him a little bit. And yeah, so literally the Athletic is reporting that Fred Hoiberg and Monty Williams are the early candidates to be the Timberwolves' permanent head coach. And the man who is going to be the interim head coach is named Ryan Saunders. But yeah, that was just pretty crazy because I don't think Fred Hoiberg is a great coach, and Monty Williams did not have a great coaching stint as a head coach. So they're both kind of interesting, if you ask me.
Is Ryan Saunders related to Flip Saunders in any way?
I wonder. Ooh, good question. I'd have to look that up.
Looks like Ryan Saunders is 32 years old, and he's now the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is that am I reading this correctly? He is promoted to interim head coach after Tom Thibodeau was fired. That's incredible. 10 years ago, he was assistant coach with the Wizards, and then a few years ago, he was playing as a walk-on at the University
of Minnesota. Man.
It's Flip's son?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I figured, but I want to make, I don't want to have slander out here. That's cool.
And I mean, everyone knows that Flip was the coach for them and had a big role in all of their things until he died kind of unexpectedly there. So, that shouldn't be super surprising. Good for him.
Yeah. Props to Ryan Saunders. He's probably a better coach than Fred Hoiberg or Jim Boylan. So I hope he does well with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, this Minnesota team could be a playoff team, man. I mean, they got a lot of talent still, even without Jimmy Butler, man.
Yeah, they should be a team that could fight for a playoff spot.
Well, and they just crushed the Lakers tonight without LeBron, obviously. But they got Jeff T, they got Towns, they got Rose, they got Wiggins. Watch out, man. The Timberwolves could be good. As far as fantasy value, though, you got to think this might be the end of Taj Gibson's kind of even 12 and 14 team fantasy run. That then the new coach could come in and play Sarge a lot more minutes and drop Taj Gibson down to 15, 20. I mean, that's potential. We don't really know that.
Yeah. If you're kind of desperate right now to take a risk, if Dario Saric is available, why not see what happens?
It could also. I mean, Derrick Rose is out with that ankle injury right now. He's missed 4 straight games, but we could see him move back into a bit of a smaller role when they get healthy and get Covington and Teague back rolling. They could also choose to play Tyus Jones some minutes. I actually, think playing Tyus Jones and Derrick Rose together on defense might be a little bit of an issue, but on offense, I mean, that could be kind of an interesting combo. So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of happens with the rotations. I think for sure you're not going to see guys playing 40 minutes a night under any new coach that comes in. So you got to think that all the value of some of those top end guys is going to go down slightly, just in the sense that they're going to see a few less minutes.
Yeah, when you see Robert Covington come back, hopefully he's not playing 39 minutes a game. Karl Anthony Towns, 36. Obviously you want them to play those many minutes if you own them on your team and you got them rostered, but you're probably going to see a more well-balanced rotation from a coach that's not Tibbs.
I'm with you there.
So I don't know. This could be a good time to sell high on I know Robert Covington's injured. Sometimes you can play that to your advantage. He's going to come back. He'll be fine. I want fair value for Robert Covington. Karl Anthony Towns also having a great last few weeks, if not month or so. So he's kind of back to top of the charts, and might be a good time to sell high on him as well. But we will be doing our buy lows and sell highs later this week, like we have been throughout the season. But let's get into maybe the only reason people did not tune in to hear me talk about the meathead high school boys basketball level coach Jim Boylan. I think they tuned in to hear about Week 13, Tyler. And once again, over on hashtagbasketball.com, you've written our Week 13 primer. Your primers are excellent content going in to the week. We have a very busy week. There's games almost at least 7 to 8 games every single night except for Thursday, where there's only 4 games. And we have a 10-game slate and 9-game slate on Wednesday and Friday. So like an incredibly busy week. We don't have anyone playing 2 games, and the Nuggets are playing 5 games this week. So going into this week, what are some of the things you got? Some of the guys you are looking at who are probably good waiver wire type players for Week 13.
Yeah, so unfortunately for the Nuggets, they play 5 games, but they do not have a good streaming options. A lot of really good streaming options. Mason Plumlee is averaging like 6 rebounds and basically a block and a steal a game for the year in just 20 minutes. But he's actually been playing about 26 minutes a night in Denver's last 10 games. So maybe they're seeing the value of his defense a little bit more. And I think that they're playing him and Jokic together a little bit more, which is nice, right? So there's that. So he's someone I would add. There's a lot of 4-game guys, though, that could produce some real good across-the-board value and help you win your league. As always, you should check and see which categories you need and then go after the person who's going to help you the most in those categories. Guy is really interesting to me and someone who's seeing some value that he hasn't seen is probably Kevin Huerter. He's still only 11% owned in Yahoo leagues. In his 21 games as a starter, he's averaging 10 points, which isn't great, but nearly 2 3-pointers, 2.8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 0.6 blocks. Like, none of those categories sounds fantastic, but when you add up all that, like that's a pretty healthy stat line in pretty much every category. So, that's kind of someone kind of interesting if you need 4 games out of somebody.
I like that. There's we always say, especially when you're looking at 5-game slates or 4-game slates from teams, someone who's slow and steady wins the race. If you're looking at a superstar that's gonna maybe someone named Kawhi Leonard who likes to sit out back-to-backs, and you got a back-to-back coming out, though Kawhi's been playing more lately. 2 Kawhi games and 4 Kevin Huerter games become pretty close. They actually become pretty similar players when you are looking at a head-to-head type of matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, people miss the value in things like, just getting 10 points 4 times is 40 points. If you only played 2 games, which no one does this week, but if you did, that's what, you'd have to average 20 points a game. How many guys are averaging 20 points a game? Not that many.
Yeah, not a whole lot. And when you look at other guys who are kind of available, you got your Noah Vonlehs and your Marcus Morris's, a handful of guys out there who are not owned but are playing fairly well right now. Those are the guys you want to gravitate towards. And I like your list here. You got some good guys. Marcus Smart has been kind of underrated, I think, especially since he is a very good steal guy.
Yeah, and when we talk about Smart, like 1.8 steals a game, literally just picking up him could take you in your week. Like if you just lined up the 12 teams in your league, okay, and you played your lineup, but just added Marcus Smart and dropped your worst steals person, that could probably take you from near the bottom to near the top.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
That's what I mean. Like he's going to get you 8. He's going to get you probably 8 steals this week.
Yeah. Like on top of that, Kyrie Irving, he's missed the last few games, so you're seeing more minutes from Terry Rozier, and you're also seeing more minutes from a few more minutes from Marcus Smart. Even though Marcus Smart's been playing about 28 minutes a game, he's still taking a little bit of that rotation, some minutes for the absence of Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, we're seeing Smart average those freaking 1.8 steals in 26 minutes a night for the season. Yeah. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I like getting that. I like getting that extra bump, especially if you're going to see maybe Kyrie miss a game. So probably a good person to target, and a quick way to make, like, maybe you're going against a guy you're okay in steals and they're okay in steals. make yourself a choice to take that bump on steals with Marcus Smart and easily pull ahead, win a category. Like that's just the way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at guys like JJ Barea, right? Like he's not going to help you in a ton, but 5.7 assists per game can literally win you that one category. And if you're looking at a 4-4 matchup in an 8-category league and assists is one category you're losing, and you drop somebody, especially a big man who's maybe getting like 1 assist a game, and trade it for Barea's 4 or 5.7, that's 4.7 assists every game. You're getting more. That's enough to win you that category probably and win you the week 5-3 instead of 4-4.
Yeah, sometimes you got to play on the margins, especially at this point in the season. If you are kind of a middle of the road team and you didn't join our patreon.com/watchingtheboxes to be in our second chance league, so you don't have a second chance because you didn't join the league. You gotta make sure you're getting every extra 0.5 assist and every 0.2 steal in your week to pull out those upsets to make the playoffs. Now is the time to really, really work the numbers. Make sure you're looking at your matchups and going after the free agents and the waiver wire players that will fit your ability to win the week. And I think your article on #basketball.com, Tyler, is an excellent place to start when planning your week. As I said, Thursday, kind of the weird day, only 4 games that day. Not a lot of good streams. Like there's no Thursday, Friday stream. But there is some Tuesday, Thursday potential out there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 teams playing on Tuesday and playing on Thursday. So that's pretty cool. We got 4 games on Thursday, but 6 teams playing on Tuesday and Thursday. So you could get an extra game in there. Is there any team in particular in that Tuesday, Thursday pseudo stream that you in particular like?
Well, the Nuggets are doing it, so I mean, obviously Plumlee would be a great pickup, and you could not only get Monday, Tuesday, Thursday if you picked up Plumlee. The Sacramento Kings would also be a great option to do that, but I don't know that I'd really recommend streaming anybody because most of the guys who play the minutes are fairly well owned for them. As far as looking at Tuesday, Thursday, though, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who they're still kind of playing a rotation there in Los Angeles, so he's not getting a lot of minutes, but he's getting you like a steal and 0.6 blocks a game, which that alone makes him pretty interesting. Like that's help in 2 categories, especially from a guard position. You kind of get the same thing from Tyler Johnson, and I'm a little bit worried about Johnson's full season value, but he should still keep playing minutes as Waiters works his way back enough minutes to be worthy, and he's averaging a steal and half a block a game.
That Miami team is a team I'm keeping my eye on as a team that is has no idea what it's doing, it seems, with the rotation. No one's playing any heavy minutes. You do wonder if eventually you do wonder if eventually there will be a move to play Bam Adebayo heavier minutes as they are kind of basically, barely getting through the end of the season. And you wonder if Miami is going to just kind of rely on its young guys. I mean, they still easily could make the playoffs.
We talked about them in the last couple of years as like being, even when they were a well into the playoff team. They got 10 or 11 or 12 guys who can all play minutes and all play minutes well. But I mean, are you excited about any of them? Like since Dwayne Wade has come past his prime here, it's like they're just kind of a band of misfit toys in some sense, and they have like all these guard wing types that are good, but like they all cannibalize each other. I'm talking Rodney McGruder and Tyler Johnson and Dion Waiters, Justice Winslow. It's like, I don't know how even Spoelstra decides who's gonna play the minutes that night. Like,
that kind of pseudo experiment of having Justice Winslow as the guard, even though he's sort of the guard and they're playing point guards with him, but they're calling him the point guard. Whatever you want to do to make Justice Winslow play better, right on. Like I'm all about it. Spoelstra is actually a good coach. So him calling Justice Winslow publicly a point guard probably helped Justice Winslow's ability to play. Like his percentages are so bad that he's not ownable in a Roto League, but in head-to-head, Justice Winslow is now like a actual meaningful standard league player. You get some steals, you're getting some assists and some rebounds. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know how consistent that's going to be. But, you see that and you go, okay, what does that mean for Bam Adebayo? Is Tyler Johnson ever going to play more minutes? They're a mess, right? Other than Josh Richardson, really, none of these guys are standard league relevant, especially in 9-cat. But then, if Kelly Olynyk suddenly got 35 minutes a game, he'd be probably standard league relevant. So there's little potentials in all these guys, but none of these, like you're saying, none of these guys are the real deal.
All right, you ready for my sneak tip? Not in the article.
Whoa! Yes, I am ready.
So it comes
Tyler's sneak tip of the night.
Yes. So this is new. This is a new feature.
Tyler's sneaky tips.
Maybe only once yearly. I don't know. I don't know how often this feature will come about, but it is here today. So the Charlotte Hornets, they only play 3 times. And they do play a Friday, Saturday back-to-back. The interesting streamer of the day is Mr. Bismack Biyombo. Now, he was not even in the rotation at all until Cody Zeller broke his hand. Now, for some reason, instead of starting Willie Hernangomez, they are deciding to start Biyombo, and he will get you enough rebounds and blocks to matter, even if he's probably only playing 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, always a surprisingly good per 36 player, Bismack Biyombo. There was that brief period of time with the Toronto Raptors where he was kind of a world killer. He was getting 4 blocks a game, and he was incredible. And then he got a huge contract for some reason to go to a team that really didn't need him at all in Orlando, and then pooped the bed. But as you're saying, in limited minutes, he's still able to get good rebounds and blocks in order to be standard league relevant. So that's a really good call there. Cody Zeller looks like he will be out for a month.
Yeah, at minimum. Maybe he broke that hand, so that's not. It's not going to be one of those things where, that Paul Millsap thing. How quick did he return? We heard he was out 4 to 6 weeks, and I think he was out 2, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was at 3.5 weeks. But I was when someone mentioned he was back playing, I was like, wait a minute, what? I had written him off until mid-January, but he was back.
He literally missed from December 8th until he played on December 29th.
That's incredible.
So he missed 21 days, so three full weeks, and that was it.
It was absolutely incredible. It must not have been that big of a injury.
Yeah, well, everything I heard was 4 to 6, and then I even saw someone report that it was 6 to 8, and I was like, damn. Maybe it's going to be 6 full weeks. I'm I'm going to miss him for a while. And then, literally, too, I was actually kind of a little PO'd that night because I had a spot in my lineup, and I was I still had him on the injured reserve. And I'm oh, he's definitely not going to play. I won't worry about moving him around. And then he was in there. I was damn it, I missed that.
It's a tough world out there, Tyler. But if people go to #basketball.com, check out your article, and go to patreon.com/watchingtheboxes and subscribe. They should be ahead of the game because the exclusive content that we're putting up on Patreon, along with your articles, I think people have given people the edge in their fantasy basketball leagues, and we still got a ton of fantasy basketball ahead of us. Obviously, teams trying to make the playoffs. This is the big stretch, and all the cool cats out there playing Roto, you still got over half the season left. So there is plenty of fantasy basketball on the way, and we're going to continue to get you the content that you like. But in order to get the content that you like, we need your feedback. So hit us up on Twitter. You can find Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. You can find me at Watch the Boxes. Hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what you don't like. If you want more mailbags, if you want more dynasty talk, if you want to start talking about keepers. In fact, I got a listener question right now, Tyler. A late show listener question.
Oh, all right.
If you feel incredibly comfortable with your 3-pointers, you're blowing everybody out of the water, would you swap Steph Curry for Giannis straight up?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a good question. This comes from Mike Zhao. Shout out to Mike Zhao.
So,
It's a tough one because it kind of like, you're still getting 5 rebounds and 5 assists from Steph Curry. Giannis is going to obviously kind of knock those up, but everything else is fairly similar. And then you're dropping 4.5 3-pointers off the face of the earth from your team. It's like, you better be really, really confident that you're good at 3-pointers.
Yeah. How do I want to say this? You're losing him. You're not. If you are losing an average guy and you are beating everyone in 3-pointers, you're probably okay. But unless you're unless you have some other really, really big 3-point guys, losing him and going down to Giannis's number is like losing 2.5 really good 3-point players on your team, right? Like, because Giannis is only making 0.4. So you're losing 4 3-pointers a game, 4.5 3-pointers a game. That's a lot. It's going to be a big hit.
It's a huge hit. Like, and what are you getting back for that, right? You're getting blocks and rebounds back.
Yeah. So could you and you're losing a lot in free throw percentage if you're a man who cares about percentages. So could you get away with making the swap and still win your league? Yes. Would I make this swap? No. It completely changes the perception and the value of my team. And that's a hard thing to kind of recover on the fly, in my opinion, right? Like, I went from a team who's definitely winning 3-pointers every week to now maybe not winning 3-pointers some weeks. And now I got to adjust to be a little bit more rebound heavy. And it's not the kind of move I would want to make, but could you make that move and win the league? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair swap. It's a swap that's not going to lose you a league. I mean, it could, but if your margins are tight, right? But
and if it's
I think Steph Curry's if you're in Roto, Steph Curry's the better player.
And if it's Roto, though, I could see making the move if you got to move up in rebounds and blocks. You know what I mean? Like, if you're dead last in those categories and you're third in the league, and you're like, if I just get someone who can rebound and block the ball, I'm going to be okay.
Well, that's the nice thing about Roto is, like, you can kind of look at your league and go, I'm last in assists. I'm never catching up. So I'm going to get rid of my assist guys and get guys who are good at steals or maybe rebounds because I'm in the middle of the pack, but there's like 6 people in the middle of the pack. So I'm going to make my run in those categories. That's what makes Roto so much more interesting. So I preach this a lot. I'll keep this rant to a minimum, Tyler, but there's a game inside of the game in Roto, and every single league is different. When you go to head-to-head, you're trying to win 5 categories, or you're just trying to win the most categories every week. It's all you're trying to do. That's your strategy. All right, cool. You got to figure that out. There's some waiver wire stuff you can do, but you're winning categories. There is a game within the game in Roto, and that is manipulating those standings, those overall standings. Like, maybe you're crappy, like you're in last in assists, but there's a guy who could make a run in assists, but he's like in 8th place and you're in like 4th, but the guys ahead of you, he could pass up, knocking their points down. So you trade him, maybe you give him a little bit of a deal on your assist guys because you really don't need those assist guys. You get some good players back from him. He gets a bump in assists and he passes the players ahead of you, and suddenly they lose points, you're gaining points, and you're suddenly in 2nd place or 1st place. That's the game within the game in Roto, and that's some of the stuff you should be focusing on, especially right now at this period in the league. Now is the time to be starting to make those moves. You should be confident in what your team is and where you're at in your standings, because you still got a half a season to go.
And I think where first time or just non-experienced Roto players make the mistake is they see, oh, I'm last in this category, I need to catch up. Well, can you even catch up?
Yes, that's the real question.
Right.
Can I do anything? You might be in the middle of the pack and you can't catch up to the next guy.
Well, and here's the thing too. How many points can you make up? Okay. So you might be dead last in a category, but only be able to catch 1 or 2 guys realistically. But you might be, 5th in another category, but could be 1st if you made the right trade. So you can make up 5 points there as opposed to the 1 or 2, even though you're dead last in that category. And so that's kind of also what makes it fun to me. And you got to really know the numbers. And there's a lot of intricate math, right? It's precision surgery, I like to say, as opposed to a head-to-head league where things aren't so precise.
Yeah, that's the fun of Roto. So if this is the kind of stuff, more of the strategy, more of the kind of the game within the game kind of stuff you guys want to talk about, hey, let us know. Give us your feedback. Hit us up on Twitter or rate and review the show. That always helps us out. And check out our patreon.com/watchingtheboxes to support
I got
the show
one
as well.
thing I want to plug quick.
Oh, yeah. Right. Tyler, what else you got to plug?
So I made my fantasy baseball writing debut for Fantasy Pros.
Oh, and congratulations.
Here's a cool article I wrote, and this is why I want to plug it, because it kind of relates to fantasy basketball. I wrote an article about why trading away top prospects is a winning dynasty strategy. And I think this relates to almost any fantasy dynasty sport. Is trading away the hottest young thing can often be a winning strategy, and often be a strategy that gets you a lot of long-term value, even though that sounds crazy. And the article goes into a lot of detail about how people get so hyped on some of these guys, and then they turn out to not really be that great.
Yeah. That is good. That is a good philosophy. I mean, and all you fantasy baseball players out there should be following Tyler in his fantasy baseball debut. He is way too into, because I'd say being into fantasy baseball at all is a little too far for me. I'm not. But some of the people out there, they like their spreadsheets. They like they're almost like accountants. They're actuaries. And that's when you're good at that, you're good at fantasy baseball. I get why people like it, because I like to do some of that stuff for fantasy basketball too. But the baseball season is too much of a slog for me, Tyler. You got the wherewithal for that, and I don't think I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got some degrees in accounting. I've done some accounting work, so I guess that's my thing, man. I don't know.
Yeah, if the numbers speak to you, it's your sport. But go check out Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. He will be sharing not just basketball in Mavs stuff, but apparently fantasy baseball stuff too. So shout out to Tyler on
there might even be more fun surprises coming, Mike. You never know.
Wow. Well, stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back for the rest of the week with our normal stuff, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks.